Welcome to World True Crime. Tonight, we delve into a chilling tale set within the prestigious halls of Ashwood University, a story of manipulation, betrayal, and a deadly quest for revenge. In the prestigious Ashwood University, a fictional, liberal arts college located in a quaint but affluent town on the east coast of the United States. The campus is picturesque, with ivy-covered buildings and a history dating back over a century. Ashwood University is known for its focus on the humanities, fostering intellectual curiosity and boasting a strong academic reputation. It attracts ambitious students from across the country who are passionate about literature, art, and philosophy. The university serves as the backdrop for Dr. Leonard Huxley's manipulative affairs. As a literature professor, Huxley thrives in an academic environment where intellectualism is valued, using his charm and eloquence to manipulate the vulnerable young women who seek his mentorship. The time period is the 2020s, where social media and digital communication allow Huxley to manage his secret affairs with greater ease, texting and messaging the women privately. The elite atmosphere of Ashwood University contrasts sharply with the dark and twisted relationships that unfold beneath its scholarly surface. Dr. Leonard Huxley, despite his polished, professional exterior, harbors a deeply manipulative and predatory nature. Outwardly, he appears to be the model professor at Ashwood University, respected, intelligent, and eloquent. His reputation as a charismatic literature professor makes him well-liked by students and faculty alike. However, beneath this facade lies a much darker persona. Huxley uses his position of authority and his intellectual charm to target vulnerable female students, exploiting their insecurities for his own gratification. Huxley's true skill lies in his ability to identify and exploit the weaknesses of his victims. He carefully selects women who are emotionally fragile, academically ambitious, or seeking validation, and tailors his manipulation to meet their specific needs. For some, he presents himself as a supportive mentor, offering guidance and intellectual praise. For others, he positions himself as a source of emotional comfort, becoming a confidant and father figure. With each woman, he gives them exactly what they are seeking, whether it's attention, approval, or affection, making them believe he cares deeply for them. What makes Huxley particularly dangerous is his ability to gaslight his victims. When any of the women begin to question his behavior or feel uneasy, he uses his charm to twist their doubts, making them feel guilty for distrusting him. He creates a false sense of dependency, isolating them from others and making them believe that only he truly understands or appreciates them. Over time, the women become emotionally ensnared, blinded by the belief that they are special to him. Huxley's manipulation is cold and calculated, rooted in a deep-seated need for control and power. While he appears to offer guidance and care, his true motives are purely selfish, seeking only to satisfy his ego and desires at the expense of the vulnerable students he preys upon. Lydia Voss first met Dr. Leonard Huxley during her junior year at Ashwood University, when she enrolled in his advanced literature seminar. Lydia, an ambitious and talented writer, was drawn to the course by Huxley's reputation as one of the university's most distinguished professors. From the moment she stepped into his classroom, she admired his intellect, eloquence, and deep passion for literature. Huxley, recognizing Lydia's intelligence and potential, took an immediate interest in her, frequently praising her work in class and offering nuanced feedback that made her feel seen and understood on a deeper intellectual level. Their relationship took a more personal turn when Huxley offered Lydia a coveted position as his student assistant, a role that involved helping him with research, grading papers, and organizing academic events. It was a dream opportunity for Lydia, who aspired to pursue a career in academia, and she saw Huxley as a valuable mentor who could guide her toward that future. During their long hours working together, Lydia's admiration for him grew. Huxley nurtured this dynamic, subtly flattering her and positioning himself as both a mentor and a kindred spirit, someone who shared her intellectual curiosity and literary passion. The affair began gradually, with Huxley blurring the boundaries between professional and personal interactions. It started with after-hours conversations in his office, where they discussed literature over wine. Huxley would make her feel like an equal, like she was different from other students. feeding her sense of pride and confidence. As these meetings became more intimate, Huxley made his romantic interest clear, framing their relationship as one built on mutual respect and intellectual connection rather than mere desire. Lydia, convinced that she shared a special bond with him, entered into the affair willingly, believing it was a relationship rooted in their shared intellectual passions. She never suspected the depth of his manipulative nature. Fiona Green first encountered Dr. Leonard Huxley during a particularly difficult time in her life. She had recently lost her father, the person she was closest to, and her world felt shattered. Grieving and emotionally fragile, Fiona sought solace in her studies at Ashwood University, hoping that academic focus could help her escape the overwhelming sadness she felt. She enrolled in Huxley's introductory literature class, drawn to his reputation as a brilliant professor who could perhaps rekindle her lost passion for learning. Huxley immediately noticed Fiona's quiet demeanor and the sadness in her eyes. Unlike the other more outspoken students, Fiona sat at the back of the classroom, rarely participating in discussions. But her essays were thoughtful and sensitive, reflecting her deep, introspective nature. Sensing her vulnerability, Huxley began paying her special attention, always offering warm and encouraging comments on her work. He approached her after class one day, expressing admiration for her writing and offering to discuss her ideas further during office hours. At their first meeting, Fiona was hesitant and reserved, but Huxley, skilled at reading people, knew exactly how to engage her. He asked about her personal life, slowly drawing out her grief over her father's death. Offering sympathy and understanding, he positioned himself as a mentor and emotional anchor, someone she could confide in. He told her that she was stronger than she realized, and that her sensitivity to the world made her a rare soul. For Fiona, who felt lost and alone, Huxley's words were comforting. She began to rely on their conversations, which moved from literature to life, and she quickly became attached to him. Huxley deepened the connection by fostering an intimate atmosphere, eventually steering their relationship into romantic territory. He framed his affection as something nurturing, making Fiona feel special, protected, and loved. In her fragile state, she didn't recognize the manipulation behind his actions, believing that Huxley truly cared for her. Elena Marsh was the kind of student who stood out. She was sharp, confident, and totally in control of her life, someone who didn't take nonsense from anyone. Independent and proud of it, she always prided herself on keeping her emotions in check. When Dr. Leonard Huxley first crossed her path in a literary theory class, she wasn't one to be easily impressed by his charm or reputation. In fact, she found his intellectual ego a bit annoying. But Huxley? Oh, he saw her as a challenge, and he loved a challenge. Their interaction began in class debates, where Elena would often go toe-to-toe with Huxley, questioning his ideas and holding her ground. Huxley was intrigued by her strong personality and knew he couldn't approach her the same way he did with other students. So he played the long game, using intellectual flirtation to break through her defenses. After one particularly heated class discussion, Huxley complimented her sharp mind, saying she was one of the few who could keep up with him. It was subtle, but effective. Soon after, he invited her to his office under the guise of discussing advanced literary theories. It didn't take long for their conversations to get more personal. Huxley framed their relationship as something daring, a thrilling conquest, subtly hinting that they were two intellectual equals indulging in something rebellious. He played on her independence, making her believe that their affair was her decision, her freedom from societal norms. Elena, always confident in her ability to stay detached, found herself caught in his web. He made their relationship feel like an intellectual game, one where she was always on the edge of winning. But in reality, Huxley was the one pulling the strings, manipulating her just like he had with so many others. Nina Clark was a quiet and introverted art student at Ashwood University, known more for her talent than for her presence in social circles. Deeply passionate about her work, Nina spent most of her time in the art studio, creating pieces that reflected her emotional world. Despite her obvious talent, she struggled with low self-esteem and was plagued by constant self-doubt. She craved validation for her creativity and longed for someone who truly understood her artistic vision. something she never seemed to find among her peers or professors. When Dr. Leonard Huxley first saw her work at a university art exhibition, he immediately recognized her vulnerability. Unlike his other conquests, Nina wasn't in one of his classes, but Huxley made a point of approaching her after the exhibit. He showered her with compliments, not just on the technical aspects of her art, but on its emotional depth. He told her that he saw something truly unique in her work, a statement that struck Nina deeply. No one had ever praised her in such a profound, personal way before. Huxley began to meet with her regularly, under the pretext of discussing art. He fostered her creativity, telling her that her art expressed feelings and truths that others were too shallow to appreciate. He made her feel special, as though he was the only one who truly understood her artistic soul. For Nina, who had always felt unseen and unheard, this validation was intoxicating. As their meetings grew more frequent, Huxley's praise became more intimate. He slowly built a romantic connection, convincing her that their relationship was based on their shared understanding of art and life. Nina, desperate for affirmation, fell under his spell, believing that Huxley was the key to unlocking her full creative potential. She saw him as her only true supporter, unaware that he was manipulating her insecurities to control her. As the affairs with Lydia, Fiona, Elena, and Nina deepen, Dr. Leonard Huxley becomes increasingly confident in his control over each of them. He believes he has successfully compartmentalized his relationships, each of the women too emotionally dependent on him, or too afraid of the consequences to expose the truth. But Huxley's arrogance blinds him to the growing cracks in his manipulative web. Eventually, the women begin to notice inconsistencies in Huxley's behavior. Small things, an offhand comment, a missed appointment, or rumors circulating on campus cause them to question the sincerity of their relationships. Lydia starts to suspect something is wrong when she overhears Huxley making similar compliments to another student, words she thought were unique to her. Fiona, feeling increasingly suffocated by her dependence on Huxley, begins to confide in Nina, unaware of the affair they both share. Elena, ever the strong-willed skeptic, pieces together enough evidence to confirm her suspicions, while Nina, craving validation, grows emotionally distraught when she realizes Huxley's attention is divided. Eventually, one of the women, likely Elena, given her independence and intellect, confronts Huxley. She does so carefully, testing his reactions without fully revealing her knowledge. His responses only confirm her worst fears. Furious and betrayed, Elena seeks out the other women, sharing what she knows. Slowly, all four women realize they have been deceived, manipulated, and used by the same man, each thinking they were special or different. Initially devastated, the women find solace in each other. But as they share their stories, the pain turns to rage. The realization that Huxley has been playing them against each other fuels their collective anger. Individually, they were vulnerable and powerless, but together, they feel a newfound strength. Bonded by betrayal, the four women begin to secretly meet, plotting their revenge. What starts as a conversation about confronting Huxley morphs into something darker. As they continue to meet, their anger festers, and the idea of exposing him no longer feels like enough. They fear that, even if they go public, Huxley will manipulate the situation, ruin their reputations, or escape consequences by hiding behind his status as a beloved professor. Elena suggests something more drastic, and the others, despite their initial hesitation, begin to agree. They plan to make Huxley pay, not just by tarnishing his reputation, but by ending his life. Over several weeks, they craft an intricate plot designed to appear like an accident. Each woman is given a role in the plan, contributing in ways that align with their personalities and skills. Lydia's intelligence, Fiona's knowledge of his routine, Elena's strategic mind, and Nina's emotional manipulation. One night, when Huxley is staying late at his office, the women put their plan into motion. They lure him to a secluded location on campus, under the guise of a surprise gathering, where they confront him together. The night was shrouded in a heavy silence as the moon cast long shadows across the deserted campus of Ashwood University. The air was thick with tension as Lydia, Fiona, Elena, and Nina gathered in the darkened corners of the art building, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and adrenaline. This was it, the moment they had been planning for weeks. As they waited, they rehearsed their lines, reminding each other to stay focused. Huxley, unaware of the storm brewing, arrived with his usual charm. The flickering lights cast a warm glow around him, and he greeted the women with a smile that only served to stoke their anger. They led him to a secluded area near the back of the building, an intimate space lined with artworks that seemed to watch the unfolding drama. Initially, Huxley was relaxed, his confidence radiating as he began to talk about the future of the department and his vision for the upcoming semester. He tossed out compliments, attempting to charm his way through the tension in the air. But the women had been rehearsing for this moment, and they were ready to confront him. Elena stepped forward first, her voice steady but laced with barely contained rage. "Huxley, we know what you've been doing. You think we don't see how you manipulate us?" Huxley's smug demeanor faltered for a moment, confusion flickering across his face. "What are you talking about?" he asked, feigning innocence. Lydia chimed in, her heart pounding. "You've played us all against each other. You think we're just your conquests, don't you? That we're too weak to see through your lies?" As the confrontation escalated, Huxley's facade began to crack. He tried to deflect their accusations, insisting that their relationships were based on genuine connections. But the women weren't buying it. Fiona, emboldened by the support of her friends, stepped closer, her voice trembling but fierce. "You used our vulnerabilities against us, made us feel special while you were just playing a game." The anger in the room surged, and Huxley, realizing the depth of their fury, attempted to regain control. "You're overreacting. This is ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about." But the women, united and resolute, pressed on, fueled by the pain he had inflicted on each of them. They surrounded him, confronting him with their feelings of betrayal and hurt. The tension reached a boiling point as Huxley, cornered and desperate, tried to talk his way out of the situation. In that moment of chaos, he made a sudden, aggressive move, attempting to break free from their circle, and panic erupted. In a split second, everything changed. Lydia, acting on instinct, grabbed a nearby art sculpture, a heavy metal object meant to symbolize strength and resilience. In a moment of panic and chaos, she swung it at him, the force catching Huxley off guard. He stumbled back, hitting his head against the wall. The impact was sickening, and the women froze, their hearts racing as they realized what had just happened. Huxley crumpled to the floor, his body limp and lifeless. A heavy silence fell over the group as they stood in shock, the gravity of their actions crashing down upon them. Each woman had played a part in this moment, but it was Lydia's act that had ended it all. Quickly, adrenaline kicked in, and they sprang into action. They moved swiftly, checking to ensure no one else was around. They used cloths to clean any fingerprints from the sculpture and carefully positioned Huxley's body to make it appear as if he had simply fallen and hit his head during a moment of distraction. They arranged his belongings, knocking over a few books to create a scene of an accidental death. Once satisfied with the scene, they took a deep breath, their hearts still racing. They disposed of the incriminating evidence, wiping down surfaces and leaving nothing behind. As they exited the building, a sense of eerie calm washed over them. They left behind the man who had manipulated and betrayed them, each step feeling both liberating and haunting. The night air felt different, charged with the weight of their actions and the knowledge that their lives would never be the same. Initially, the murder is ruled as an accident. The university is shaken by the sudden death of a beloved professor, and the women, bound by their secret, struggle with the weight of what they've done. While they feel a sense of justice, the emotional toll is far heavier than they anticipated. Over time, however, small inconsistencies in the story begin to surface. Detectives start to ask questions, and rumors circulate that Huxley's death wasn't as accidental as it seemed. Tension rises among the women, as some want to confess, while others insist on keeping their silence. The psychological burden of their crime grows, driving a wedge between them. Eventually, one of the women, likely Fiona, overwhelmed by guilt and grief, breaks down and confesses everything to the authorities. Her confession unravels the entire plot, and the others are arrested. In the end, the women face trial, with varying degrees of punishment, but all must live with the consequences of their actions. The case explores the dark side of manipulation, power dynamics, and the complex psychology of betrayal and revenge. What starts as an abusive affair spirals into a tragic tale of murder, showing how deeply betrayal can wound and the cost of seeking justice through violent means. Ultimately, the women gain freedom from Huxley's control, but at the expense of their own lives, trapped by the very act of vengeance that once empowered them. Thank you for watching. Tell your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to channel. Stay safe and curious.